Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another round of the UKSimRacing community's GT3 League Season 8, as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing. And today we take a look back at the racing action that occurred in round 8 of the series out of the 12 rounds, hosted at the Circuit of the Americas in the United States, particularly in the state of Texas, in Austin, for what is a thrilling circuit and no doubt a thrilling round of racing action that took place as of a couple of days ago. Indeed, this broadcast is post-round. You've become used to the live broadcasts as of recently, but due to scheduling, we have had to go back to a post-round broadcast for this one, and that means the racing action you're seeing on the screen behind you occurred as of Sunday, the 6th of November 2022, but it's going to be brought to you as if it were live for your viewing pleasure. And indeed, I, as your host and commentator, do not know what's happened, and whether it be in qualifying or 30 of the race, it's all raw to me, and that means it's going to be the closest possible thing to the raw live experience. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. How can you tune in tonight? Well, tonight's broadcast is being brought to you, of course, on the official UKSimRacing Twitch chat. If you go to twitch.tv/UKSimRacing, you can tune in there. And I, as your host and commentator, well, my name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Brit in the Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And I'll be bringing you all of your racing action tonight, and indeed throughout the remainder of the season. And what a season it has been so far. But as our drivers get set to go in what is a very bright and sunny day in Texas, let's take you through the schedule so far in terms of the rounds and what rounds we still have lying in wait. Well, as we can see now, we're gradually making our way down the right-hand side of the calendar, and as we progress deeper and deeper into the second half of the season, what a season it has been so far. We started off, of course, all the way back on the 18th of September with our first feature race round of the season, indeed our season opener in the United States. It was none other than Road America, and what a round that was, where it was all about the strategy and maintaining the tyres and making sure not to drop it off the circuit. And many a driver in many a class, whether it was in platinum, gold, silver or bronze, were to make mistakes, alternatively lose out on the strategy and lose out some major places, none more so perhaps than David Larson in the silver class. We then wound forward a week to the 25th of September. We made our way all the way across the Pacific Ocean to Japan for the Twin Ring Motegi circuit, and there, in our first sprint race round of the season, we saw many a silver driver come unstuck at the start of the race with major incidents turns 1 and 2, which saw many a silver driver, particularly Chris Edison, fall down the order like a stone and have to recover. But then after that, we made our way back across the Pacific, picking up the air miles and making our way to Road Atlanta on the 2nd of October, and there in the state of Georgia, we saw our racers go hard and fast around the roller coaster ride of a road racing circuit that is Road Atlanta, and there we saw plenty of battles up and down the circuit, whereas in the platinum, the gold, the silver or the bronze class. Then we made our way to the state of California, staying within the United States, the Laguna Seca circuit, and there conquering the corkscrew, many a driver, and indeed Joe Zarkos and Jonathan Hitchen going toe to toe, and coming out on top, it was Zarkos in the end who found his way to glory. But then coming all the way back to the United Kingdom then for round number 5, that's Snetterton on the 16th of October. There we saw our drivers around the tight and twisty circuit in the infield and outfield sections. There were many drivers there who really pushed to the limits, and many found their way onto the grass at certain corners, but still an absolute thriller. And then we wrapped up the first half of the season with our second feature race round in Spain at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia on the 23rd of October, and there we saw our gold drivers go all in with regards to Pratt versus Tin, Joshua Pratt versus Martin Tin, the absolute blockbuster battle between the two of them, and we're expecting plenty more from them tonight. But then we made our way into the second half of the season, the 30th of October, and last time out we were for round number 7 at the Oschersleben circuit, or the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben in full, and there we saw a few drivers have difficulty, particularly on the open lap, and none more so than Mark Johnson, our bronze fastest man, you could argue, and perhaps who should be our championship leader at this point in time, but not to be. In fact, it's Darren Sharples who leads the bronze class at the moment, with Sharples coming away with the spoils last time out at the despair of Mark Johnson, who found himself coming unstuck within the space of only 6 corners. But now we are here at the Circuit of the Americas, or COTA in short, and then in a week's time we'll be making our way to the Suzuka circuit back to Japan for the final time this season for round number 9, and that will be live. It will be a sprint race, and then on the 13th of November we're definitely going to see our drivers take on a circuit which has proven to be a very tricky one, and what I'm hearing already from our drivers who are practicing at the Suzuka circuit is that they are finding that 130R in particular there is proven to be very tricky. We'll have to wait and see whether they can nail it down, or where a few drivers may lose out 130R other corners on the 13th of November. And in round number 10, we'll be making our way to the Ritz-Carlton circuit. And on the 20th of November, our drivers will be taking on the circuit recently introduced to iRacing in a feature race round, the penultimate feature race round, but not the penultimate round of the series, in the live broadcasted round in round 10. And in the penultimate round in round number 11, we head back to the United States for the final time for the Indianapolis circuit. And there, that'll be our final sprint race round of the season on the 27th of November, before we bring it all to a close on round number 12 at the Red Bull Ring on the 4th of December. And that will be live in our final feature race round. And the Red Red Bull Ring, a circuit synonymous with hard and fast racing down its multiple straights and sweeping corners, but who will come out on top and wrap up their championship on the ultimate high of being crowned champion for Season 8? Well, only time will tell, but we've got a way to go yet, and indeed, let's not get ahead of ourselves, and let's focus on where we are today. For that is the Circuit of the Americas, located in Austin, Texas. The United States of America circuit here, it looks quite odd on perspective in terms of when you look at it on a circuit map as provided us by simracingwiki.com. Consisting of 20 corners, this circuit, opened up more recently compared to a good number of circuits that we have raced at over the course of this season, is a circuit that looks to bring together multitudes of the best aspects of the European circuit. So when you look at the European continent and circuits like Silverstone, the Hockenheimring and others, you'll see that different elements have been brought in here. The first half of the lap, from turns 1 through to 9 in particular, are an incorporation of the S sequence, of the Maggots into Beckett sequence from Silverstone, and also the rather tricky S sequence from Turkey, the Istanbul circuit. Turns 8 to 9, really familiar with regards to those who are fans of the Turkish circuit. Then we see the circuit open up a little bit before the hairpin of turn number 11, and it's the run down an absolutely colossal kilometre-long back straight from turns 11 and 12 all the way down to the more technical half of the lap. And when we say technical, we really mean complex here, where the average lap speed drops massively as our drivers make their way through two arena-like sections. Indeed, you may already be getting flashbacks to the Hockenheimring's arena sections if you've driven around there on the simulator in person or watched it on the TV. Well, you would be right, because these sections replicate the circuit that was designed by Hermann Tilke in Germany, and indeed Hermann Tilke having to put his hands to the labour of this circuit alongside a good number of architects, and what a fantastic hit circuit is as a result. And it has plenty of overtaking opportunities, it should be said, where it's turn 1, alternatively the run up towards turn number 11, the run down the back straight to 12, through the arena section of turns 12 through to 19, and also turn number 20. And the key aspect here, what provides that overtaking, is the fact that when our drivers come to a heavy braking zone, the circuit opens up, compared to a lot of circuits where you'll see that the width of the road surface starts to actually narrow towards corner apex. Here at the Circuit of the Americas, it opens up massively, and you'll see that most at turns 1 and 11, where the circuit widens so much as to create multiple racing lines and therefore plenty of overtaking opportunities. And who will be the master of the overtakes here? Well, we'll have to wait and see. But speaking of waiting and seeing, we haven't got long before we're going to qualifying, and let's take you through our schedule for tonight, times in Greenwich Mean Time, that's GMT, or Universal Coordinated Time, UTC. Where it will be the case that in just under 8 minutes time we go into the qualifying session. 10 minutes of qualifying action there, with only one of our drivers, of course, what have it been a closed qualifying session, so we'll ride on board with the driver who's provided us with the iRacing replay file, and that is none other than Damien Lobbett. We'll get to see him take the Porsche 911 around the circuit fast and furious, indeed the Platinum driver trying to do well in qualifying, and then we'll transition over into our sprint race at approximately 10 past 8 this evening. 40 minutes of racing action with a mandatory pit stop on the cards, and indeed it has been the trend quite recently for most drivers to try and go as deep as possible with regards to the strategy if they're inside the top 10 at the start of the race. and managed to hold on to it for at least the opening 10 minutes, whereas other drivers who are outside the top 10 normally try to go for the undercut. But at the same time, we did see it last time at Oschersleben, many drivers towards the top 10 try to go for the undercut, none more so than Martin Tillin versus Joshua Pratt. And will we see some attempts at the undercut tonight, and could that prove very effective, given the fact that if you're in the slipstream of another car around this circuit, particularly for the first half of a lap, that dirty air can really impact your lap times going through the S's sequence from turns 1 through to 9. But all that and more will be revealed, there's no doubt about it. But as our drivers make the way on around at the moment, we do look to other drivers out on the circuit, and that is none other than Colin Patterson here, making his way through turn number 1 as we speak, the TG Simsport Toa driver. And Patterson looking for a good run of form now as the second half of the season continues to build on through. Hasn't quite had the results he's perhaps wanted at certain points in the season so far. That's not going to stop the 737 driver in the BMW M4 trying to continue his campaign on a high. And indeed, we can see there on our timing towel on the left hand side of the screen, 26 drivers in attendance today, ranging all the way from Cy Anthony at the top of the board all the way down to James Conley at the bottom of the board, as Colin Patterson there decides to cut a bit of a corner, I think, to jump to the pits. But we also see here Daniel Page making his way down the start finish straight and up towards turn number 1. And you can see here on the camera just how wide turn 1 is as he makes his way up the hill into the braking zone, a very late braking zone because it's uphill. And as he comes on through turn number 1, a little bit of a tank slapper there, or power on oversteer as he makes his way out of turn 1 and through into 2. And Page here, one of 3 drivers in a very closely knit and fought bronze championship battle between himself and what is also, as we do look from around on circuit, Mark Johnson, who you can see here. And Mark Johnson on paper the fastest of the bronze drivers, but the driver who's perhaps had the least luck when it comes down to the races going his way. And also none other than who we said earlier, Darren Sharples, who's currently in the pit lane, albeit he's in the garage. In fact, we can't see the car, but it's Sharples versus Johnson versus Page. And how will that permutate tonight? We'll find out as we see Tyson Belenda here making his way on around as well and coming into the arena section here. And I do believe making his way, unless I'm very much mistaken, through turn number 13, then 14 and 15. That long sequence of corners there, all very close together and really having to balance the car. And Tyson Melenda making the switch to Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo as this round, so he switched cars. Of course, we did see him out in the BMW M4 more recently, but he's now made that transition, and how will it work out for him today? We'll have to wait and see, but it's an interesting switch for the simple reason that Lamborghini a very different beast compared to what he's been piloting previously. The Lamborghini being a very centre ground car, but very heavily focused on that rearward rotation, given the fact it's mid-engine rear-wheel drive compared to his previous piece of machinery, which was front-engine rear-wheel drive, which is a bit more of a stable car, but in return perhaps was not as aggressive into those corners, and perhaps he's gone for this switch to give himself a little bit more rotation, a bit more comfort in those corners, and particularly the circuits we've got remaining, minus perhaps our season finale, are very corner dominated circuits, and this may just work out for Valenda. It might be a smart change at the last quarter. But as we also do look a little bit further up in our time tower at the moment, we see Austin William Campbell here, the private team, making his way on down the back straight, running for Symphony Esports, but I don't think actually running as part of one of the teams in this series, because we do have multiple Symphony Esports teams represented here, but I think he's not on the points accrual basis. He's not adding to their bank account per se, and as he makes his way through turn 12 and up into 13 here, we look forward to seeing how the Triple 5 driver gets on. And we know when he's on his day, he's one of the fastest out there in the Platinum class. We have seen him putting some absolutely stellar results when he's been on a form, and will he be able to do so again today? But he does have some stiff competition in the form of Cy Anthony, and with the Symphony Esports black drive from Wales here in the number 27 car, he'll know that he'll want to get the best possible result, given the fact we do have some big names in the Platinum class absent today, including Jonathan Hitchen. Jonathan Hitchen, of course, our championship leader, and really running away with the class with a 51-point advantage over Joe Zarkos, who I've also noticed is not in attendance today. Well, this is a big chance for a good number of Platinum drivers who haven't been right up there in the standings all the way through to get some huge points on the board, and it may just help them as they continue to build their run in the championship season. But speaking of building the run here, we can see a number of you building up to the absolute hype in the Twitch chat, and including Matrix4701 and also Hate Fury 101. Good evening to you guys, and if you are tuning in right now and you haven't said hello, don't be shy, feel free to say hi. We don't bite here at UKSimRacing, I can promise you I don't, and I do believe the guys and girls in the Twitch chat at the moment who have said hello don't bite either. There may be a little bit of banter, but it's all friendly here. It's a big family at UKSimRacing, and therefore feel free to say hi, or if you can't, for whatever reason, well, I hope you're doing well, you're having a good week so far, and if you're not having a great week and you're feeling a little bit down, well, hopefully a little bit of sim racing action can perk you right up and bring a smile to your face, as we do see Nathan Foster here in the Simman Racing Machine making his way down into turn number 11. And indeed, Nathan Foster, one of those drivers right now who's just not had the luck on his side at any point in this season. If it's gone wrong, it has been Nathan Foster, one of the drivers who's had it go wrong for him, but at the same time he keeps his head down and keeps on pushing, and we saw that Oschersleben trying to bring home a great result, and indeed one of those drivers who you can't help but smile when you see him out on circuit, because you know he's giving his absolute best, just like his peers out on circuit. But perhaps there's a little twinkle in his eye to say he's going to have a stellar day today, but we'll have to wait and find out whether he does. But with 2 minutes on the clock and our drivers getting set and ready to go, we do have to just briefly say to you that if you have been tuning for some time to UKSimRacing, you're not subscribed to our Twitch channel, and that is twitch.tv/UKSimRacing, then why not sign up today? Because if you've been tuning for some time, that means you don't have to keep checking the channel to see when we are live. You'll get notifications by default, depending on how you set up in Twitch to receive notifications of when we've gone live in our upcoming broadcast. And also, if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, then why not do so today? Because we do export all of our broadcasts on Twitch to our YouTube channel, and we are gradually moving more and more of our live broadcasts onto the YouTube channel for both our ongoing Porsche Cup series and also this GT3 League series, so you won't want to miss a single round there. And our YouTube channel is UKSimRacing as well. But also, if you have been tuning in, you've ever wondered to yourself, how can I give back to the girls and guys, indeed the folks at UKSimRacing? Is there an easy way to do so without me having to go through reams and reams of paperwork or through massive donations and things on those lines? Well, there is in fact, and the way you can do so is you can do so via our affiliates, because we as a company are affiliated with a number of other sim racing and real world motorsporting companies, including Swello Meta Sim Racing Coaching, Race Anywhere and Demon Tweets. And if you do head to our website, that's uksimracing.co.uk today, and you can see that website on screen very shortly. In fact, I do believe it's coming up now, and there it is. You can see there is a page on the left-hand side listed as discount stroke affiliate links. It's the top left button there, and if you do click on that button, you'll be taken to the following page, seen on screen here, with logos of all our affiliates, and you can see Amazon recently added there at the bottom. And if you do click on those logo links, you'll be taken to a page where you can make purchases through these companies if you so desire, and if you do make a purchase, purchase, you'll get a discount on that purchase, which benefits you. And we also at UKSimRacing get a brief kickback, and that kickback we can use to fund into future series at UKSimRacing because we are a non-profit organisation. So every penny we make gets reinvested into the series that we run, including this GT3 League and also the ongoing Porsche Cup League. So there's no reason not to make a purchase for our affiliates if you do want to do so. Indeed, a little penny, a little investment goes a long way for UKSimRacing. And also, we do have some links available in our Discord. So if you're not part of the UKSimRacing Discord, then why not join today? But speaking of joining, well, it's time for us to rejoin our drivers back out on circuit as they get ready to go in this qualifying session. And we do look for one Damien Lobbit, who is going to be our driver who we follow for this qualifying session. And well, our drivers do have 15 minutes, or what is 4 fast laps, in order to set their best possible time. We are just waiting right now for Lobbit to make his way to the end of the pit lane in the 666 Symphony Esports white machine. And the normal thing we've typically seen with regards to these qualifying laps from our drivers is their outlap, of course. They do push quite hard because they want to get the tyres up to temperature and get the brakes up to temperature, but then they'll normally have one banker lap and then they'll go full attack on the subsequent laps. We have seen some drivers get it wrong in the past, including at Snetterton. You remember when we rode on board with Cy Anthony over the course of the entirety of the session, could not put together a valid lap in the end, and it was not through lack of trying or ability, just the track limits at Snetterton really caught Cy Anthony out, and when he did try to push, he pushed a little bit too hard. And could we see that happen to some drivers here today? Because we do know that track limits, particularly in the first half of the lap, so turns 2 through to 9, are very aggressive in terms of our drivers even dare try to cut the curbs even slightly, they will see their lap invalidated faster than they can say that wasn't a track cut. But as we see Lobbit making his way on around right now, taking it nice and smooth, transition his way on through. It's a very complex lap here, as we said earlier, because it really is a merger of the best parts of different circuits on the European continent brought to the United States. A big venture, a big enterprise and investment by American companies, the Circuit of the Americas circuit, to try and really establish a major motorsporting foothold in the United States outside of the regulars such as NASCAR, and indeed trying to revive the fan base in the United States for Formula One after, of course, the disaster that was the 2006 Indianapolis Grand Prix, which many of you, indeed myself as a major motorsporting fan, remember quite fondly for the incorrect reasons. But as we see here, Lobbit making his way down the back straight all the way down towards turn number 12, heading into that braking zone very shortly, getting himself set up very nicely. Well, what's going to be the run of form here? We are expecting the Porsche 911 to be the top car out there, and that's given the current iRacing balance of performance, but also the fact that this circuit, one of those circuits which is very trendy towards cars with a lot of manoeuvrability through the corners, albeit there are some straightaways which you can see the power cars dominate quite as well. So we are looking for a car that's a bit middle ground, but I think the Porsche will do very well here by default, given the amount of rotation it has, with that centre of mass being very close towards the rear compared to the other cars available in the GT3 class, given it is mid-engine rear-wheel drive. Porsche do love to have that engine as close as possible to the rear axle, but as he makes his way through 17 and 18 and now coming into turn at number 19 here, you can see really testing where the limits are on this outlap, because he's allowed to do so. And as he makes his way in towards the final corner, we ride on board here a little bit as he takes us around for the first flying lap of his qualifying session. So the circuit map in the top right corner of your screen. Let's bring up the dashboard as well on the right hand side and take it away. So as he heads up the hill here towards turn number 1, going up through the gearbox to 5th gear and getting ready to brake as late as possible into a blind apex there, and you only see it as you're about to hit the apex curve. First gear and accelerates out here and charges downhill, brings the car to left hand side to set up turn number 2, flat out here through the right hand and going up through the gearbox to 4th gear, before moving over to the right, braking into turn 3, in fact not braking at all, just riding the car in through 4 into 5 here, but lifting off now and gradually trying to let the speed bleed out the car as he comes through 5 and then getting ready to switch back into 6 here and 7, and as he makes his way on through now coming into turns 8 and 9, you can see braking the car down to 2nd gear through turn number 8, riding the apex curve to set up a straight line through 9, and now powers his way through turn number 10 here, completely flat out in 3rd gear up to 4th on the apex, and now braking his way into turn number 11 here, braking as late as possible. You can go very late here into turn number 11, it's a deep hairpin. As he makes way through, powers out there, loses a little bit of the front on the power coming out to the apex of turn number 11. I think took a little bit too much speed there and not enough rotation, but also tyre temperature's not up. But that's the first half of the lap complete, and now making his way down the back straight. He gets a brief breather as he makes his way down the 1 kilometre straight before heading into turn number 12. Looking to his right hand side for his brake marker, and as he gets ready to brake down, braking at about 125 metres from apex, coming all the way down from 6th gear to 1st gear, and as he hits the apex there, now making his way over to left hand side for turn 13, going into the very slow right hand. You've got to be patient here in 2nd gear. You don't want to get on the power too soon because it ruins your line for turn number 40, but he nails it before going through 15 into 16 here as he comes into left hand. It's such a painful braking zone because you have to brake so early for the corner looks so far away, and there hits you. And as he comes through turn 17 and 18, now through the double right here, build up through the gearbox, commitment on the throttle as he upshifts to full, and now coming down towards turn number 19 and bringing the car to the right, back onto the brakes, coming down to full gear, down to third after upshifting to fifth briefly, and now braking into turn number 20. A very smooth lap here from Damien Lovett as he comes through a left-hander to complete the lap, just within track limits there. You can see fighting with the steering wheel a little bit as he comes to line. What's it going to be for his first flying up in his qualifying session? It is going to be a 2:04.099, a nice lap, but I'd imagine he feels as though there's a bit more time out there as he now goes on to his second flying lap. You could see they're riding on board just how the two halves of the lap really are uniquely different from one another, where you have this fast flying, very aggressive section of turns 2 through to 9. Start off with turn 1, of course, that uphill braking zone into the hairpin, and as he makes his way on through the S's section once again here, you see it's so easy for the car to potentially step out, but it's all about knowing where you need to turn into the apex, how much you can let the car go deep into each corner, when you can brake early, how much curb you can take to rotate the car even further. There's so many different variables here, and Lovett finding a way to get them all established very nicely indeed as he comes through turn number 10 and down towards 11 once again, and onto the brakes he goes, bringing the car on in. And does he hit the apex a little bit more swiftly this time? He does indeed. You can see that time getting nice and tight to the curb, and albeit on the exterior cameras now, and it gives you a sense of perspective. He wants to get on that power as soon as he clears that curb in order to get the best possible run down this back straight. Now we will see some overtaking moves down the straight, there's no doubt about it, some slipstream orientated battling, but also where drivers are going to be bold on the brakes down to turn number 12 as Lovett makes his way on in. And as he comes charging down into the braking zone here, going faster compared to his previous best in all of the first 3 sectors, but now perhaps the hardest sector of them all, sector number 4 here, as he's got to make his way all the way through the arena sections, coming through 13 and 14 and through 15 and 16. And again, the thing is as well, this is a big stamina test. It's only going to be a 40-minute race, but the fact you have this absolute barrage of corners coming at you left, right, left through the arena section, as a driver, you've got to be on point. You've got to remember exactly which corner's coming up next. Indeed, they rehearse this. It's almost like they're rehearsing for a play. They've got to remember every line they run through these corners, every braking point. They've got to be pinpoint precise. You see that little wobble of the car for a little bit, but he just about keeps it together as he makes his way into the final corner. But that wobble, a sign of just how hard he's pushing as he cleared 19 through 20, and as he comes to timeline for the second time now, that's an even better lap, a 2:03.703. But you can see that he dropped time in the final sector. He feels though there's a bit more time out there. But he's going to jump to the pits, get himself reset in the car, and go one last time. And that little wobble there, and indeed he's confirmed it in the Twitch chat there. Joe Inks is Damien Lovett, I do believe, losing 4 attempts on that wobble. Absolutely gutted with that one, but at the same time it was a very smooth lap minus that one error. It's got to be said, Damien, a brilliant lap, and what a way to demonstrate to us running around in the GT3s here at the circuit of the Americas. But we do wait to see if he makes his way back out on the circuit, as we also say thank you, and indeed he does return to the end of the pit lane there to go out once again and attack the circuit one more time. But we do say thank you to Matrix 4701 for subscribing with Prime, and they've been subscribing for 5 months, currently on a 5-month streak. We really do appreciate it, Matrix, and indeed I think Lovett right now will appreciate if he can find a way to not have that wobble come back and pinch him coming out of turn number 19 as he makes his way on down the hill and into turn number 2 this time. We said earlier the major overtaking points here, well, there are plenty of them, but particularly turn 1, also 11 at the run to 12, and also we are expecting some moves through the arena section, but particularly coming to the end of it at turn number 20. But what are the other things we need to look out for here? Well, we would expect that when our drivers are running close together in the serpentine sequence, the S's of turns 2, 3 to 9, those who are behind and looking to go on the offensive will potentially struggle a little bit with regards to the dirty air of the driver in front, and it depends on the setup of our drivers' cars as well. If they're running quite a lot of downforce on the car, they may find that downforce is very quickly extricated from the front end, and as a result the car will no longer want to turn in, but instead will start to understeer, and we may see some instances where drivers, if they're in a chain, one driver may get it wrong because of the dirty air, and other drivers will benefit immediately from behind and find the way up. But on top of that as well, those who can master run out there, they'll need to be ideally within a half a second coming out of 11 to be able to make the run in the run down towards 12 here, as we see Lovett making his way in towards turn number 12 once again. Also in the arena section, as we said earlier, you can make overtakes into the arena. Indeed, there have been some brilliant real-world examples recently. Indeed, in Formula 1 over the last couple of years, we've seen some absolutely fantastic side-by-side moments into turn number 13 as Lovett makes his way through the aforementioned corner. Also coming into turns 15 and 16, this left-left sequence here, the double left combination, you can go too wide throughout the entirety of those two corners and still battle your way into 17 and 18. But the problem is here at 17 and 18, if you're side by side here, the driver on the inside, they want to get the power down. They can lift off to a point, but the car naturally does get pushed out to the left-hand side. It does naturally understeer away due to centrifugal force, and the drivers on the outside, there's got to have a huge amount of commitment and trust to the driver on the inside, and we may see a couple of door-to-door moments there if moves are made into turn number 17. But speaking of making moves, well, Lobbit making his way down towards turn number 1 once again as he heads up the hill here, having done another outlap, another warm-up lap, and he's still got at least one more lap to go, if not two, as he heads on up the hill. We're going to have this qualifying session going a little bit longer here, but given the lap time being just over 2 minutes, it's understandable. So we'll be starting the race at approximately 8:15 this evening, rather than the previously recorded 8:10 time. Apologies for that discretion, but as Lobbit makes his way through 2 and 3, let's keep our eyes on here, the balance of the car as he comes on through the corners. And what you can see here, car very pointed initially, takes a bit of apex curve there. You can see him just briefly tapping the sausage with the left-hand wheels on the yellow sausage at turn number 5. And as he comes through into turns 8 and 9, the rear cuts loose there, just trying to get on the power. In fact, that was 6 and 7, just trying to get on the power a little bit too soon. And the car going around, but just missing the wall there and not crumpling the front end. But he decides to jump back to the pits here, and I think that may be a desire to end qualifying for himself unless he goes out one more time. He will have an out lap plus one final lap, but I think that may be all said and done for Lobbit. But still, a 2:03.723 is not a bad lap by any means, as we do wait to have confirmation. And well, no more laps available to Lobbit, and thank you to Damien for confirming there in the Twitch chat. So we get ready to go racing, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back within the next 2 minutes to start taking you through the grid in preparation for round number 8's race at the Circuit of the Americas. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's take you through the grid for round number 8. So they line up as follows here in round number 8 of the GT3 League Season 8, is brought to you by UKSimRacing. Austin William Campbell takes pole position in the Platinum class, and overall the privateer were 2 minute free at 0.261. Pole over Cy Anthony, who lines up P2 there by 2.5 tenths. The Symphony Esports Black Dry having a solid qualifying session, but not able to take the fight to Austin William Campbell. On row number 2, we have the combination of Daniel Thomas from BWT Motorsport and Damien Lowitt from Symphony Esports White in that lap, doing him well, but I think he felt there was a little bit more out there. And we've then got Stephen and Masters, the silver pole sitter, line up P5 there, the privateer, joined by Nathan Foster from COTA at P6 on the 3rd row. Alex Hill takes gold pole position for Tiki Sim Sport there on the 4th row, joined by Martin Tilling from UKSRP. And do keep in mind that Alex Hill is also in the fight and the championship alongside Tilling and Pratt at this point in time. The three of them very close together, and the results coming together rather rapidly. Joshua Pratt, meanwhile, starts P9 on the 5th row there, joined by Ryan Moles from BWT Motorsport. And keep your eyes out for Ryan Moles in the Audi R8 LMS, a very fast driver. We saw just how strong his pace was at Oschersleben, and we're expecting that to come through tonight. Row number 6 starts off with Sam Sherwood from BWT Motorsport, joined by the bronze pole sitter of Daniel Pazer, the privateer, starting P12. And then behind them, we have the combination of Matthew Whitefoot starting P13 in the silver class, joined by Billy Mann from BRM Racing. On row number 8, it's Colin Patterson and Stuart Brown line up side by side, with Casper Brotner and John Eddowes line up on the 9th row, P17, P18. Tyson Melenda there starts P19 in the Lamborghini, the privateer making the car switch. Will it work out for him today? And then we have Mark Johnson line up alongside in there in one of his weaker qualifying performances, P20. When I say weaker, the deficit to the pole lap, if he's not setting the pole lap, quite sizable here, but he starts on the 10th row. Ollie Pimley, P21 for Symphony Esports Gold, a difficult qualifying session for Pimley, but he'll look to turn it around in the race with Jeremy Graham alongside him in P22 for BRM Racing. And then we have Darren Sharples and Sean Clark, the two bronze peers, line up P23, P24, and behind them on the final row we have James Acklam and James Connolly, who did not set laps, believe invalidated laps throughout the qualifying session. They will start P25, P26. But that is the field, ladies and gentlemen. As our drivers get underway, we do look down to the closed cameras at the circuit, and well, perhaps find himself in a bit of an unfamiliar position compared to how it has been in the past, but it is Austin William Campbell, who starts on pole here and will take us to the green for 40 minutes of racing action. And the big challenge for him is, can he pull it off on the start? Can he have a clean start, the run up the hill into turn number 1 and find a way to break away from Cy Anthony? Or will Cy Anthony look at this as an opportunity to seize the lead and then try and make a break for it early on? Also, watch out further behind Daniel Pays, starting a bit further up the field compared to where he normally qualifies. He's got a huge opportunity here to jump ahead of Mark Johnson in the championship as they make the way up through the arena section right now. And then as we do see Mark Johnson a bit further back here, well, he's known to bounce back from adversity. We saw that Oschersleben. Can he bounce back from it today with the qualifying session not going the way he's clearly wanted it to? We'll have to wait and see. But looking a bit further up the road from him, Sam Sherwood here, the BWT Motorsport BMW driver, solid on pace in the races, and he's got his teammate Ryan Mulch just a little bit further ahead. Can BWT pull off a big set of results today in the gold class? And indeed also, let's not rule out Daniel Thomas here, one of the most consistent drivers in the early portion of the season. Can he make that P3 at podium finish? Can he go further? Can he even potentially get the win? Well, we wait now for our drivers to make the way to the final corner, and it's Austin William Campbell who takes us to the green. And he immediately goes. They emerge from turn number 20, and Austin William Campbell takes us away for 40 minutes of racing here at the Circuit of the Americas. They charge their way up towards turn number 1 for the first time of asking. And as they come on up the hill here, you can see Science looking all the way around the outside. Can he make it work? I don't think so. Damien Lovitt covers off there Thomas as they all concertina into corner apex. A bit further back there, you can see how everybody coming together under braking. And I believe John Eddowes has been involved in an incident already, or had a spin of some description. He may have just been going slow, to be fair. Tyson Valenda going slowly out of turn number 1, losing multiple places, but also a bit further back, Sean Clark here, where he's dropped a little bit back, and James Acklam as well, having a good start, getting 3 places from the very start of the race. They make their way up through the S's, but meanwhile looking a bit further up the order to Daniel Thomas here, not the fastest starts, losing out to Damien Lovitt on the exit of 20 in the run to 1, but as they come through turn 9 and 10 for the first time, and down towards 11 they go. Well, they're all quite spaced out at the moment, given the run through the S's for the first time on cold tyres. The Billy Man here trying to come in quite hot versus rival Stuart Brown, and as he makes by the inside, a nice move there from Man, catching Stuart Brown sleeping I think a little bit there. I think Brown thinking he was safe, but now can Brown go for the return in the run down the back straight? And look at Ryan Mulch just a bit further up the road here, putting the pressure on Alex Hill already. And also just behind we do have Sherwood there trying to go on the offensive versus Pays. They make the way down towards turn number 12, onto the brakes they go. Sherwood on the inside, Pays on the outside, and I think Sherwood's going to get this, but they're side by side through. And as they make the way out to 12 and up towards 13, well, Pays on the inside still, and Pays not backing out of this as he takes a bit of curb, and as a result that causes the car to wobble and understeer out there. A bit of contact with Sherwood, I think, and as they make the way through 14, 15 and into 16, they're still side by side. He goes deep, and this enables Man to come on through, and Billy Man unlocks the space on the outside as they go around turn 17. The Man has to back out here. You can see he just does not have the grip levels at the moment. He cuts it back instead, and as they come out of 18, a bit more contact between Man and Pays. Further contact there as they come down to the braking zone, and as they come through 19, well, it's not going the way they necessarily want it, as we're hearing that Tyson Valenda having some connection issues I should say, but he's returned. But as they emerge out the final corner, a bit further back, Matthew Whitefoot there trying to pick his way past Stuart Brown as well as they come to the end of lap number 1. But meanwhile, as they make the way up the hill onto lap number 2, we'll look at Moles here battling side by side with what is there, Joshua Pratt, as they make the way through the corner, and Moles gets a really good run off the apex. And as they come through turn number 2 here, the BWT Motorsport driver makes the move count. He gains a place on Pratt, and that's quite critical for Pratt in the championship, and also Moles, to be fair, in the fact that Tilling right now, P7, he's leading the gold class ahead of Hill, and Pratt's at the bottom end of the trio right now with Moles between them, and Moles here really trying to get stuck into the fight, and who can blame him as he makes his way on down and up towards turns 8 and 9. But meanwhile, a little bit further back, you can see Whitefoot very close behind Brown, and Brown right now, a bit of a rolling roadblock here in terms of taking the pace out of Whitefoot. I think Whitefoot thinks he's got, but you can't really find a move there through 8 and 9 as they come down through 10. You can see right now Brown just doing everything he can to hold on to that position. I think as we see just in front, Pays are going for a move on the inside into turn number 10, turn number 11 I should say, but going a bit deep, and now Brown's going to have an absolutely huge run down the back straight here, side by side. It's going to be BMW power versus Mercedes power, AMG versus M power as they make the way down towards turn number 12. Pays on the inside here, but the Bronze Drive doesn't have to fight this too hard, given the fact, as we see there, look at Whitefoot coming out to make it 3 wide, but he thinks better of it, as meanwhile Pays comes in very hot, and well, he goes very deep, and Nazare gets it stopped there, but Pays in the number 20 BMW definitely getting his elbows out right now, and trying to keep the pack behind, but look at the traffic jam that's building as a result, albeit, oh goodness me, and there's a car sideways, and that's Edo's there going through turn number 13 to 14, turned around for TE Sport Tower, and it's gone so very wrong for Edo's earlier on in the race as they make the way back up to speed now, but only 4 minutes in, and Edo's to the back of the field. But meanwhile, Casper Brotner here battling side by side with Acklam as they come on down. Remember, James Acklam not getting the time on the board in qualifying, so he's got it all to do for effectively the back of the grid, as meanwhile Moles versus Pratt continues. They head up the hill, but Moles on the outside, he's had the better run with the V10, and as they make the way up the hill, the Audi right now flying, and well, it's going to be one of a limited number of cars inside the top 10 that's not a Porsche, and by damn Ryan Moles is trying to make sure it counts. He makes his way through 1 and into 2, Pratt on the inside again as they come down the hill into turn number 2. Now Pratt's going to commit all the way around the outside, and he's going to get it done there. He just gets the door shut in time before they go into turn number 3. Brilliant racing between the pair, and as they make the way through the S's sequence now, I think Moles are going to have to back out a little bit as they come all the way down and into turns 8 and 9 shortly, but first it's 6 and 7 before 8 and 9, and you can see Moles really glued to the back of Pratt. Well, whatever he's done with that setup, he's definitely learned to mitigate the dirty air effect of that Porsche in front, because right now Ryan Moles is absolutely on the offensive, and Pratt has got a lot to deal with, and I think Pratt right now is less focused on what lies ahead in terms of hill and tilling, and more focused on just trying to consolidate a P3 in class. But as he brings himself out to the corner, he gets a better exit compared to Moles coming out to 11, and that may be enough this time around. Although I say that Moles here in the slipstream is gaining gradually, but I think that Audi just does not have the run all the way up to top gear compared to the Porsche, and as they make the way down towards the braking zone, can he look for the move? No, he thinks better of it there. He backs off and waits his turn and waits for another opportunity. But as we see our drivers make the way into the arena section once again, we do look a bit further back, and in particular to Colin Patterson here, who having lost 1 place at the start of this race, dropping a place down from his P15 starting position, has not lost too much right now, still running P2 in the silver class, but the biggest change of them all, in fact P3 in the silver class I should say, with Masters up there in the lead in P6, and then we do have Whitefoot in P14, but the biggest gainer of them all, or the biggest loser as well, the biggest gainer so far is James Acklam, who's just behind this. He tries to pick his way past Casper Brotner here, coming into turn 17 and 18, but he's tried this once already in terms of a cutback. He's going to try it again as they make the way on through, and Acklam once more finds the right space at the right time to thread the needle on through and pick off another driver here, as we hear that Billy Mann's into the pit lane already. Now Mann coming in from P12, what was P6 in the gold class. I suspect that's an undercut. That is a huge gamble in the undercut, but he believes in it. The only alternative would be unless some damage has been picked up, and surely he can't have a drive-through penalty this early on, but then again, well, it could have happened. Meanwhile, we see Pays versus Whitefoot here as they make the way into turn number 1. Pays on the inside and Whitefoot staying on the outside there, and Pays gets the move done for P12 as they make the way into turn number 2 and rolling their way on through, and a bit further back, well, before we take a look further back, you can see here Pays right now doing everything in his power to keep Whitefoot behind, and Whitefoot, they're scrambling all over the back of the bronze driver. I think Whitefoot's got to play it smart here and just wait for that back straight rather than do anything aggressive now. Meanwhile, we look to Damien Lobbit here, who's got Daniel Thomas closing as Lobbit goes a bit deep. He gets the car stopped. We saw that in his first lap in the qualifying session where the car went a little bit beyond the apex and understeered, and now it's a case that they're battling their way down the back straight. Now who has got the better straight line speed? They're both running the same car, both with the same engine power. Who's got the greater amount of downforce here? This will be revealing, and I think they're both quite equal to be fair. I think they're running very similar aero packages, and in the end it was just that initial 50 metres gain that Thomas was able to get on the accelerator coming out of 11 that gets it done initially, but I wouldn't be surprised as we ride on board the gearbox of Daniel Thomas's Porsche P3 overhauling the Platinum class when we see Lobbit try to come on back as they make the way into the corner. He does. He looks up the inside here and Lobbit says, right, I'm going for it. You're going to have to deal with this now. When he returns, Thomas says 2 can play at that game, and 2 by 2 they go into turn 17 and 18 as they make the way through the long right-hand sequence. Our cameraman up in the tower pans down here, and as they make the way up towards turn number 19 here, Thomas ahead, but look at Lobbit, they're going in. There's a little tap between the two of them, but I don't think there's going to be any major damage, but Lobbit going all in there and wanting to keep the place. I think Damien Roberts conscious about it. He wants track position more than anything, and perhaps he feels as though he can make the breakaway through the S's come the next lap as they come across the timeline here and go on to what for them is lap number 5. We're only 8.5 minutes in, but already plenty of battling up and down the field. And speaking of battling, well, here comes Thomas once again as Lovett says, okay, I've seen you coming, I'll try and cut back here, but it looks like Daniel Thomas getting it just about nailed as they come out to 1 into 2, and they'll make the way through the S sequence here. Meanwhile, Valenda versus Johnson here. It's bronze leader, bronze championship leader at one point versus Valenda here, and the Lamborghini driver up the inside, and as they make the way through the left-hander turn number 1 here, will Johnson having to fight his way on through, but I think right now Valenda also showing that he's got the pace here to chase after Brotner in front, who is his class peer in P17, and therefore he does not want to lose the ability to chase down the BMW driver in front. But as they make the way on through the sequence of corners here, I think now they'll settle down for a brief moment as we're hearing that James Ackland's been involved in a little bit of a moment at turn number 1, I think just locking up with the brakes. He's running P22, in fact he's lost some places, so I think there may have been a mistake or two for Ackland at some point that we haven't seen on camera, and right now the BRM Racing driver having to do it all again after a great start from the back of the field. He gained 6th place in the opening couple of laps, but now he's got to reset and figure out his way through into the top 20 and up the order again. The Platinum driver well outside of his relative position you'd expect in the field, but he's got to fight his way on through. But meanwhile, we look to our race leader here, and indeed we take a brief pause to be able to take you through our order. Inside the top 10, it's Austin William Campbell who leads by 1.3 seconds as he comes into turn number 16 there, with Cy Anthony close behind. And then we do have Daniel Thomas in P3 just ahead of Damien Lobbett still, but this battling between the pair of Thomas and Lobbett has led to Nathan Foster closing up. And you can see here the Simran Racing driver now within arm's reach as battle for the final spot on the overall and platinum podium. And then we do have Stephen Masters P6, your silver leader, the privateer here running the official UKSimRacing colours on his Porsche right now in a very comfortable space and just running out front. But we must cut away from this briefly because we've got Matthew Whitefoot here battling hard with Daniel Page, and Page, your bronze leader in P12 right now, still battling with Whitefoot as they come down into turn number 19, and you can see the Whitefoot, I think, almost putting a wheel into the grass there, trying to take as much outside room as possible, but in the end having to bring the car back under control. You could see it was starting to snake into that braking zone. I think he's trying to set up a move here, but trying to make the corners as wide as possible, and in the process finding that the width of the circuit is large, but it's not that wide as he makes his way up the hill and in towards turn number 1. You can see he's going to take a look at the inside, and Page goes late under braking there to cover him off. Well, he's got to be careful with that. If he goes too late and Whitefoot commits to the brakes, we may end up seeing the two come together, but they're keeping it all fair at the moment as they make their way through 2 and up towards 3. Of course, turn number 1, a very deceptive braking zone because you brake so late in that uphill run, and as they make their way through the S's here, you can see Page definitely scrambling right now as he takes a bit of the curbing there coming through turn number 5. Through 6 and 7 they go, and he's doing everything in his power to keep the drivers behind. Meanwhile, Casper Brotner here right now, your silver driver, running in what is P4 in the silver class here. We've got Mark Johnson behind him, the bronze second place driver, who has found his way ahead of Tyson Valenda, who is behind in the silver class. But as they make the way through turns 8 to 9 and down towards 10 and 11, I think Brotner will be grateful that he's got a little bit of a buffer here, but at the same time, you can see Ollie Pimley just a little bit out the road trying to go for a move on Stuart Brown in the battle for what is for them P6 in the gold class as they make their way out of turn number 11 and down the back straight towards 12. And Will Pimley's got to worry about Brotner here, who goes to the move as they make the way all the way down towards the braking zone. Now it's going to be a change of overall position, but not class position. But for Brotner, this is an important one, because if he can put more cars between himself and his rival behind, then he'll give himself the breathing room, but he's not quite able to get the move done. He has to back out. Meanwhile, Billy Mann going up the inside here at Darren Sharples, and the bronze Mercedes driver here going a little bit deep, and I think deciding to relinquish the position and focusing on that P3 in the bronze class first and foremost. And we've seen that from Sharples. If you want to look at a driver who is only focused on finishing well within his class, Sharples is one of those drivers, and the fact that when he has to drive another class coming up, he may have a little bit of a tussle with them if he's looking for a little bit of fun, but otherwise 90% of the time he will let it go. And to be fair, that's a smart driver here, focusing on his championship campaign above all else. And as he makes his way through 17 and 18, not quite on the pace of Johnson and Hayes at the moment, but still a third place here today would do him very well, given that come the end of tonight, drop scores will now start to come into effect in the championship standings, and solid points are exactly what you need in a drop scores championship, but more on that later on. But meanwhile, as we look from him to another Mercedes driver here of Stuart Brown, and the Symphony Esports gold driver here, under a lot of pressure from Ollie Pimley, who looks up the inside in the battle for what is P6 in the gold class. Onto the brakes they go, and Brown, they're losing out a little bit, as you can see. Brotner coming in very hot as well, and Pimley gets the move done. A nice move, and Brown looks to come back into 2. He tries to get his nose in there, but it's a tapering apex, and Pimley just stays on the outside 9. It sets himself up nicely for free, albeit he almost clatters his way over the sausage curb. As you see Brown do the same, comes in very hot there, and Stuart Brown, I think, at that point in time, thinks himself, right, I've just got to believe the car's going to slow down in time. I think that might have been a bit of a hairy moment inside the cockpit of the Symphony Esports Gold driver, but as they make the way on through 6 and 7, and shortly 8 and 9, and there they go. You can see that Pimley not having the cleanest run out of 9, and as they come down through 10, they're side by side, and up towards 11 they go, and Brown's going to be on the inside here, but Pimley has the benefit of the... Oh, goodness me! And Brotner comes in absolutely blazing hot, has to scythe the car to the inside of the road, take all the apex curve and then some, which is definitely going to create quite the drag race now down the back straight between Brown and Pimley. As a result, I think Pimley saw that and thought, right, I've got to try and keep clear as they make the way on down towards turn number 12, and Brown here showing what the Mercedes strength is, which is that straight line speed. The BMW almost there with him, but into the braking zone they go, and Brown just keeps it alive for now. But as they come through 12, you can see Pimley getting the better exit here, and he's going to be up the inside into the right angle corner as they come through 13. You can see Brotner trying to go all the way around the outside as well, believing in the line that Brown's taking. As they make the way through 14 and 15, Brown stays ahead for now, and indeed so close, but he goes a little bit deep them. You can see Pimley having to back out and turn the car away to avoid making contact with the wave of Mercedes as they make the way on through. Meanwhile, just behind Billy Mann here at the back of this group right now, trying to go round the outside of Allende into turn 18. Can't quite get it done, but they're all stacking up together as they make the way down into turn number 19. We're hearing that Pace has had to go to the pit lane. I believe there may have been an instant which has called Pace to come into the pit lane, and as we see here, Mann getting the better run out of turn number 20. He's going to try and pick his way past Valenda. Meanwhile, we do look to Whitefoot at the front of this group, at the front of the field, making the way up towards the hill to turn 1, and Patterson just behind watching on here, trying to make the move. But meanwhile, Brotner here on the inside versus Pimley, and he's decided to go for it as the silver driver as they come through 1 and down towards 2, and as they make the way through the right hand here of turn number 2, well, Brotner right now, I think, making that ground very fast. I think he's done waiting. I think what he's trying to say to these gold drivers is, if you're not willing to get a move on here, I'll make the move for you as they come on through. The S is here, and Brotner all over the back. All that one is Brown as they come through turn 6 and 7. Now as they make the way out to 7 and up towards 8 and 9, we ride on board here with the BMW drives. Brown goes very deep, but he just brings the car back to the corner. Goodness me, with Brown's not opening the door and then shutting it firmly as you get close to getting in the doorway yourself. I don't know what he's doing right now, but Brown there right on the ragged edge of adhesion, and we love to see in the Mercedes that Brown pushing everything he can to keep the drivers behind him at bay as they come out of turn number 11 and down towards 12 they go, and Brotner here's got everything to play for in terms of overall position as he makes his way in the drive behind Brown, but Brown covers off the centre of the road here, and Brotner goes to the outside 9. Of course, that you can go outside to inside through 12 into 13. It's going to be a battle on the brakes here as they make the way into the braking zone, and as they transition through the left hand, you can see Brown coming off the inside as they make the way up towards 13, and Brotner right now having to wait and mind his business for the tyre, as meanwhile Billy Mann here looks to try and make a move on Johnson. He gets very close to the back end of the fellow Porsche drivers. They come through 14 and 15 and into 16 they go. As they make the way through the left-hander here, well, Valenda's looking at this, I'm thinking, right, I can try and pick off my silver beers in the form of Brotner a bit later on, as we hear that Brian Moles is into the pit lane, and we do have Pace who's in the pit lane. I do believe it is a retirement for Pace. Unfortunately, the bronze leader has come on in and had to retire the car, but as they make the way through turn number 19 into 20, Billy Mann comes on in here, and a number of drivers, and goodness me, we look at the clock there, a moment ago we're talking about being 8 minutes in, we're now 17 minutes in. I think a number of drivers here all getting the same idea. Undercut if you can't make the move on circuit, so as you're losing so much time, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see more drivers coming very shortly, as we do see Brown making his way into turn number 1, and as he comes on through the left-hander here, well, right now I think Brown is committed to digging deep and holding on to this position, but in turn, if the drivers behind do not react to this and look for the undercut, I think Brown here is on to a winning strategy in terms of defending hard and keeping as many behind as possible. But we'll have to wait to see how it plays out in practice. He makes his way through turn 6 and 7 and heads up towards 8 and 9 shortly. There he goes through 7 and behind Brotner still there. Meanwhile, not to forget about the fact we do have our race leaders here of Austin William Campbell and Cy Anstey, P1, P2, as they make the way out to turn 12 and into 13. Close together at the moment, separated by only on average about 6 to 7 tenths of a second. And Cy Ansley, whilst he was a bit slow off the start, Austin William Campbell choosing to go very early in terms of that green flag moment, went out to turn 20 and planting the throttle immediately, which I think was quite a smart move. It caused the field to Constantine on the turn 20 apex, particularly from P8 downwards, but at the same time, Cy Ansley here has closed that gap back up, but of course, Austin William Campbell here could be trying to do some fuel saving and letting that gap coming down, but of course, every little bit of fuel saving he does and lets Cy Ansley get close, Cy Ansley can fuel save even more in the draft down that back straight, for example, so it does mean that it's going to get a little bit intense between these two, and of course, there's also a little bit of inter-team rivalry in the fact that whilst Austin William Campbell may be in this series as a privateer, as we understand it, they both do represent Symphony Esports, and they'll both want to represent their team well, not take one off circuit, because the saying is the worst thing you can do in motorsport is take your teammate out, but they also want to be the #1 in the team here today in Texas, so you completely understand why. But meanwhile, another thing that was understandable was Ryan Moles coming in early. He's already taken his scheduled pit stop. He's the highest placed driver who's pitted for his scheduled stop, because all the drivers do have one mandatory stop to take on the fuel to get them to the end of the race, but he's come out behind Sharples, and as he looks up the inside here into turn number 20, Sharples does not defend this too hard, and the BWT Motorsport driver there absolutely brimming with confidence in that Audi and makes another place. As they make the way across the timeline and up the hill they go once again. Into the pit lane is Mark Johnson. He's decided he's had enough of being in the pack behind Brown, and he's instead going to try and undercut it as well. It's a reaction. Now, will we see any further reactions here from any other drivers? Will Brown right now, who we ride on board with and look back from towards what is behind Casper Brotner there, the silver driver, putting the pressure on here. And I think Casper Brotner needs to be wary of the fact there is an undercut window right now, and he needs to try and use it. So I don't think Brown is going to give up this place. I think this place right now has got Brown's name all over it, and as they make the way through the end of the S's here, coming through turns 8 and 9 shortly, and there they go. You can see that Brotner so close, he could almost reach out and touch the rear wing of Brown's car, but in return, when they get to the straightaway that's shortly coming up here, coming out turn number 11, just the fact that the Symphony Esports Gold driver is able to bury the throttle and just hold on, but you see there, going to pit team, oh goodness me, and in fact, I think that Brotner there may have actually gone over the apex curve slightly. We didn't quite see that on camera. I think Brotner may have cut over the curb a bit too much, and I think there was contact with Brown that sent Brown's rear tail sliding away, but they both survived the incident, and now as they make the way down, well, you can see here Pimley looking at this and thinking, okay, I can be the next contender to go after Brown, and also he's my peer in the gold class, so it adds up for me very nicely. But as they make the way through turn number 13, Brotner down the inside takes too much apex curb, and indeed Brotner now out of sorts and out of rhythm as they make the way into 13, and now he's got the pressure of fellow class peer in the silver class of Tyson Belenda right behind him as they make the way through 14, 15 and 16, and these guys are battling for P4 in the silver class, but look at Ryan Moles coming on through now. And for Moles, as goodness me, and Pimley, we've done it off camera there, and he's found his way past Brown already, absolutely just popped on through, and well, the two drivers then making it on round through 17 and into 18 here, and we can see Brotner now all over the back of Brown again, as Brown comes into the pits, he's had enough, and Moles here goes up the inside, Brotner, who turn comes into the pits, goodness me, it's chaos, in terms of everyone trying to filter their way through, and Brotner has just lost a place to Tyson Belenda through the simple mishap and missing his pit entry there, and now Belenda gains. Now can he convert this into a position gain through just simply nailing his run into the pit lane? Well, we'll have to wait and see, but as they make the way under the stop now, Casper Brotner, he's got a way to go. I think Brotner has lost out massively from this train, and as we do look a little bit further up the order briefly, here is Ollie Pimley right now, who is just running away, but at the same time he's got Ryan Moles, who is a pit stop up on him, but we look back to Tyson Belenda here, and he's going to do it, I think. No, in fact, no, Casper Brotner has come back out ahead of Tyson Belenda. Well, that was an incredibly short stop from Casper Brotner. Now, he has visited the pits. Well, in fact, no, my screen's now, it's telling me he has not come into the pit. So what on earth has happened there for Casper Brotner? I cannot tell you, ladies and gentlemen. All I know, he has come into the pit lane, but I have not got a registered stationary time. So did he actually stop? Well, if he did stop, it was one of the shortest pit stops for our timers not to be able to pick it up. But Tyson Belenda has come out behind. We'll have to wait to see what's happened in practice there. We cut away from one brief moment, and it's all kicked off again. Meanwhile, we do look to that battle on circuit now between Pimley and what is Moles. Now, remember, Moles is a stop up, and as they make the way down, in fact, yes, we've just had the words there coming from A couple of you in the Twitch chat, was it a drive-through penalty? I suspect it must have been a drive-through penalty because his pit time, in terms of the time he spent in the pits, was 28 seconds, and that is the average time taken to get from one end of the pit lane on the limiter to the other. So I think you're correct there, well spotted, Matrix4701, and also my guy Sai, who we say hello to as well. And now I think for Casper Brotner, this race is unfolding in the worst possible way. It's a drive-through, and he's still got a pit stop to take. Well, that clarifies things quite clearly, as we still got 17 minutes on the clock. But Pimley right now, with Moles getting on through there, will Moles find his way cleanly up the order? And to be fair, Moles right now is just flying. He's having to deal with cars that have yet to pit, and therefore he is, quote-unquote, losing lap time. But at the same time, right now, there's just no stopping the man. Indeed, this run of form right now from the BWT Motorsport driver, he carries this up. He's currently running in P5 in the gold class here. And of course, Sherwood, Pratt, Hill and Tinning have yet to take their pit stop. Could he potentially find his way up towards them? We'll have to wait and find out. But it's looking a very strong performance here from the Briton. Meanwhile, we do look from him to Mark Johnson a bit further back. And with the retirement of Daniel Pays, who retired due to technical issues with the car, as we're to understand it. And also, I do believe it might have been a bit of contact from earlier on, which has set off a chain. I think it might have also been close to a drive-through penalty as a result of the contact, but Pays having to take that retirement. Johnson now, well, his target, of course, having had his pit stop, will be to nail the laps all the way out to when Sharples comes into the pits, and therefore Sharples will either come out ahead of him or behind him. Now, on paper, we would argue that Sharples is going to come out behind Johnson, given that Sharples was behind Johnson when Johnson came into the pits and was behind by a good 6-7 seconds. But we'll have to see whether that's the way it works out in practice. Of course, we've got plenty of time to go, and anything can happen until the checker flag waves. We have seen that over the course of this season, whereas in sprint races or feature races, anything happens until the race is over. And well, Johnson chases after Valenda here. I think Tyson Valenda at this point will be thinking, okay, who have I exactly got behind me right now after everything that's happened in the opening 20 minutes before taking that pit stop? And I think he'll calm down a little bit when we realise it's Mark Johnson behind, and they're in opposite classes. One's in silver in the form of Valenda, and Johnson is in the bronze class. Meanwhile, we do see here a change of place of Brotner versus Garand, and Jeremy Garand has yet to take his pit stop. Neither has Brotner, to be fair, given the fact Brotner has been into the pits, but it was a drive-through, as it's understood. And as they make the way down towards turn number 12 right now, I think Jeremy Graham, the BRM racing driver, racing of course in his home country today, I think deciding to play the safer option here, which is to bank the points, respecting the fact that Brotner is the faster driver on paper based on qualifying and race pace so far, and therefore Graham just playing for points rather than the big prizes. And as they make the way through turn number 16 here, carrying on his way, and we're trying to finish ahead of what is Tyson Valenda there. Should Valenda have an upset over the course of the remainder of this race, but otherwise Grant still bringing some points home, and that will be effectively, if he comes out the back of the silver group in what will be, or the silver class I should say, that will be P6 for him today, and some big points on the board in the absence of other drivers who are around him in the championship. But meanwhile, cutting from towards the back of the top 20 to the very front of it, to the precipice, we see here Austin William Campbell in the 555 machine under pressure from Cy Anthony, and as they make the way down the back straight here, well, Cy Anthony staying close. I think what Cy Anthony's doing here is what we saw between him and Sam Congreve over season 7, and also in their battles with the likes of Jonathan Hitchen as well, trying to do as much fuel saving as possible and playing the big strategic game here as they make the way through turns 13 and 14 into 15 and 16. They go on the switchback left-handers, and they make the way into 16 now. Cy Anthony right there. And I think Austin William Campbell will be looking at this and thinking, okay, I know what you're trying to do, and also trying to come up with a plan to how he can upset the balance here. What Austin William Campbell would need to do in this situation is either back the pace out of the pair of them, so much they push themselves back towards Daniel Thomas, and he can try and make a breakaway, or he reacts by coming into the pit sooner than planned in order to take away any slipstream opportunity. But then again, they may be just running formation as well. You never know, of course. They may have decided to just play it safely together, but as they roll the way on through, we do see here Daniel Thomas, who goes purple, coming out of the final corner at 2:03.884, 2/10 faster than Anthony and 3/10 faster than Campbell. Well, that may add a new permutation indeed. As I'm just about to say it, I can see there my guy sign the Twitch chat confirming what I'm about to say. There is no fuel saving, trying to get away with Daniel Catchlas, and Daniel Thomas right now definitely the man on a march and trying to chase down a win here at COTA as he makes his way through the S's here. And well, that lap time at 2:03.88, we have not seen a 2:03 in some time. We saw it a couple couple in the opening 10 minutes. But that new fastest lap here, I think Daniel Thomas will be coming in soon, given how rapidly he's pushing and going purple in sectors 2 and 4, 2 critical sectors, and absolutely flying in the number 60 BWT machine. But meanwhile, a little bit further back behind him, Nathan Foster here, who finds himself 8 tenths off the back of Damien Lobbett. And ever since Lobbett had the battle with Thomas, and they battled their way around for the whole of a lap, if not a bit more, we have seen a Lobbett fall back to Foster a little bit, and Foster has upped the tempo to a degree versus Lobbett, and so now trying to find his way to be the best of the rest outside of the podium finishers in the Platinum class. And as they make their way on down the back straight, we do see here what is Alex Hill chasing after Tilling, Martin Tilling, and as they make their way on down the back straight here, we do see our BMW driver, the leader of the gold class right now. And these two, we haven't seen too much of over the course of this race. They've been quite quiet, but what has gradually started to occur over the last 5 to 6 laps is Hill has crept a little bit closer over those laps to Tilling. Now, these two, of course, 2 of the big 3 contenders in the Gold Championship Stakes. The third one, Joshua Pratt, 7 seconds behind and not quite on the pace compared to these two, but Tilling right now running a comfortable race, albeit I think that comfort zone is gradually being taken away by Hill, who's creeping closer and closer. And do keep in mind as well, these two started together on the full throw. It was Hill ahead of Tilling on the grid, but they have swapped places since the opening lap, and since then we haven't seen any change so far, but running all the way on through and down. And as they make the way through 17, 18 and now into 19, as Thomas sets a new fastest lap, a 203.750. Well, both Tilling and Hill into the pits. We've got more drivers ahead of them into the pits as well, including Lobbett and Masters, the silver leader of Stephen Masters in from P6. And now, has Tilling done enough to come back out ahead? Can they nail the pit stop here, UKSR Pink, or will it be TKSimSport who get it done in the pit lane and jump their driver ahead? It's all going to come down to the pit stop, and as they make the way all the way into the pit boxes now, we can see here just in front of them, we do have Masters and Lobbett parked on up. It's going to be a quick stop for these guys. There goes Lobbett, there goes Masters. Which one of the two guys goes? Pratt's pulled in behind, and Tilling just goes, and Hill goes immediately after. You couldn't call it any closer. And I think Pratt in his pit box right now must be thinking, okay, what do I have to do to get closer to you guys? They gradually sort off into the distance. Up the hill they go, and into turn 1. And we ride on board here with Alex Hill as Colin Patterson comes on through to do another lap, having yet not pitted. And we can see here, Hill right now not quite getting the jump, but he's closed the gap by 3 tenths of the pit lane. And as they make the way through the SEC, was Hill now has got to get this Porsche switched on as soon as possible in order to try and make the move. If he can't get it done this time around, I think it may be a bit of a stalemate unless Tilling makes an error. But as they make the way through 6 and 7, coming into turns 8 to 9, you can see there how Hill falling back a little bit, but then closing up under braking through 8 and 9, but then Tilling getting absolutely beautiful run off a 9. And as they make the way down through 10 and in towards 11 here, onto the brakes they go. And well, Hill right now, he'll be in the draft all the way down the back straight, but I think he's a bit too far back there. A second off as they now start to build their way up towards top gear, and you can see closing little by little, but I think it's nowhere near enough here to be close enough as they make their way all the way down towards turn at number 12. But in the long charge they go, and as they make the way on down, we do look to Pimley here versus James Connolly in the battle of a P21, and Connolly coming on through, and Connolly having started towards the back of the field, gradually creeping his way up the order. And right now we see Pimley here under pressure from Brown. In fact, Pimley has jumped ahead of Brown. We saw the two of them swap places earlier on, but he's found his way back ahead of Brown once again as they make the way on around. Meanwhile, we do have 4 drivers into the pits of Campbell, Anthony, Thomas and Foster. They've all coming in from the lead of this race, the top 4 positions, if you will. Damien Lobbett absolutely charged on through right now. Can he get closer to Foster? In fact, this will be critical for Damien Lobbett for the simple reason he was close behind Foster in the run. In fact, I think Foster was close behind him. I should correct myself on the fly. And the Civic Esports white driver here coming on through to complete a lap. Where is David Foster? Well, he's making his way out of the pit lane. It's going to be close between the two of them. And as they make their way up the hill, I think Lobbett is just going to be on the outside here. Where is Foster? There he is, and he tries to go as late as possible into the corner, as late as he dares, but Damien Lobbett just jumps back ahead of Nathan Foster by 4 tenths, if that, as they make the way through turn number 2, and that was a close jump for Nathan Foster, but just not enough as they make the way up through the S's here, and he's got to do it on circuit. He can't get it done through strategy. Meanwhile, Hill versus Tilling, it's still ongoing here, and the gap between the two of them again down to half a second, but as they come through the S's, you can see Hill falling backwards little by little, Of course, no tyre changes, so the tyre grip levels are now starting to drop away to it, plus he's got that dirty air as well. It's a nasty combination, and Hill's got to find a way to try and mitigate it, and I say that, and then Tilling goes a bit wide coming out. He's got to be careful of those track limits. He won't want to pick up a drive-through, given the run he's had all race. As they make the way down to turn number 11 here, Tilling going in nice and early towards Apex, but that's going to cost him potentially as he comes out of 11. Because he hasn't gone so deep, and as they make the way out of turn number 11 and down towards 12, have we got anything else to spot out on the circuit in regards to pit stops? Well, we have got one big thing to talk about very shortly, but we'll come to that in a brief moment. It concerns Thomas and Cy Anthony, but meanwhile, as they make the way down towards turn number 12 here, we focus on the battle for the gold lead, and Hill's not close enough this time, but that big thing we just spotted is that Daniel Thomas has jumped ahead of Cy Anthony in the pit lane, and what was the difference between the two of them? It was a 1.4 second stationary time in the pits. Thomas in the end 1.4 seconds faster, and that was enough, combined with those fast laps he put in the run to the pits, literally 3 purple laps back to back, and sectors galore going purple as well. And Daniel Thomas now finds his way up into P2, and Austin William Campbell now has no rear gunner from Symphony Esports per se, as they make the way up the hill towards turn number 1. He's got 6.5 minutes to hold off the charger Daniel Thomas. Has Austin William Campbell got enough in the tank, or can Daniel Thomas here close the gap down, given his relentless pace? I mean, that last lap, he just took half a second out of William Campbell, and Cy Anthony there behind right now. We figured I've got to try and stay as close as possible to Thomas, because I might have a chance of winning here, if not a third place at a minimum. But as they make the way on through turns 3, 4, and up towards 5 and 6 they go. What's happening elsewhere here, asked? Well, we've also got the battle here between Jeremy Grant and Casper Brotner, and well, Brotner came into the pits quite recently, was behind Jeremy Grant, who's also pitted, but they swapped places there. I think Grant decided to lift off once again, or just simply back out on the straight, coming down towards turn number 12 there, and letting Brotner go. At least that's what it looked like from the brief interlude of the camera we picked up. But as they make the way into turn number 13, we have Ryan Moles into the pit lane to say it's not so. That's not a drive-through surely for Moles, the fast charger, but I think it is a drive-through penalty, and what was looking to be an absolutely flying performance is now going to be undermined as he falls outside the top 5, and BRM Race's Billy Mann finds himself moving up into P14 overall, but more importantly P5 in the gold class as he comes on down and around through turn number 1 and into 2. But it's definitely a drive-through for Ryan Moles, and I believe that is for instant points and particularly track limits. Those track limits being absolutely aggressive here, as we talked about earlier in today's show, and as we do see Mann making his way on through the S's here right now. I think he'll be smiling a little bit. It's not the way he would have wanted it to get done, but knowing some big points on the cards now as he makes his way on through. Meanwhile, into the pit lane as well, we've got James Conley. He's already pitted once, so could this be another drive-through? He's making his way over to his pit box. I think this is a pit stop for some extra fuel here. Well, I'm not especially sure. He had a 22.5 second stop last time around, but Conley here parked on up, and well, he's missed his pit box slightly. I'm not exactly sure what's happened for Conley, but it is another stop. Perhaps there's some damage on the car. They've got to do some work on the tyres, but meanwhile, we come back to the battle for the gold lead at P7 overall, and that is Tilling versus Hill as they make the way through the long right sequence of what it says 17 and 18, and as they come on through here, well, Sean Clark moves up to P24. That's bronze P3 with Conley in the pit lane. In fact, Conley's just emerged from the pit lane and come out second behind Clark, so we'll keep our eyes on that as well. It's all playing out now in the final stage of the race here today, and well, Tilling is still holding on for the time being, but you can see how close Hill is, and I think Hill is preparing the move here. I think he's thinking about a move on the last couple of laps. He won't go for it immediately for the simple reason they won't want to pull Pratt into this fight. Pratt is 7 seconds behind, but he is setting personal best laps, so 204.974, but you can see Tilling, they're definitely feeling the pressure as they make the way through 2 and onwards towards turns 3, 4 and 5 in quick succession they make. And as they make the way on through here, you can see as we have this wonderful stationary camera here at turns 3, 4, 5 and 6, we can just see them coming on through, serpentining their way on through the corners. Up towards 7 they go, and Hill here, well, he can't get close enough in order to make a move for any part of the S's, and that's understandable as Moles are still in the win. In fact, I think Ryan Moles has come into the pit lane again. I'm not sure what's happened to Ryan Moles. That's another visit. Well, I hope it's not another drive-through. He's already done one drive-through. He doesn't want another one. But meanwhile, Hill here making his way up through the left-hander at turn at number 11 right now. And, well, he's close. Is it enough in the run down the back straight this time? My gut feeling says he's just a 10th out of reach at the moment of potentially looking at the move, and he's not gaining at a high enough rate as they get to the halfway point down the straight. Gap down to 4.5 tenths. I think he needs to be about 1.5 tenths closer. I think coming out of turn number 11, he needs to be 4 tenths or less to go for the move into turn 12. But you can see he's closing up there as Tilling takes a little bit too much apex curb coming through turn number 12, and that might just start to unsettle the car a little bit. Is Tilling starting to fall off the cliff now in terms of the tyre life as they make the way through 14 and 15? I think that BMW just does not want to turn anymore. I think he's having to lean a bit more with regards to the tyres going through each and every one of these slow corners, and in return it's only started to compound the effects of that tyre wear as he comes through 17 and 18 this time, and Hill's right there. Meanwhile, other battles of the circuit we are keeping an eye on. We've got Foster versus Lobbit in the battle for P2 overall and in the Platinum class. We've also got what is a 1.3 second gap to Austin William Campbell versus Daniel Thomas for the win of this race overall and in the Platinum class as well. And we also have John Eddowes here battling side by side with Darren Sharples in the run to turn 12. It's the gold driver up the inside of what is there, the bronze driver. He gets the move done. Meanwhile, Stephen Masters here battling with Nathan Foster at turn number 1. We just briefly missed that, but Masters going on around there, looked like around the outside of Nathan Foster to take P5 overall, and as they make the way through turns 3, 4, 5 and 6 here, I think, well, Masters is absolutely on a rip and tear in terms of pace. He makes his way through 8 and 9 very shortly, and as he comes on through, well, Stephen Masters here absolutely going on through, but also could it be that Foster is running low on fuel? And I think there Stephen Masters himself at the Twitch chat saying that Nathan was running out of fuel at this point, and if so, well, that would explain it in terms of Foster having to do some significant fuel saving as they make the way in towards turn number 11. Of course, does that forebode that Nathan Foster may not be making it to the checkered flag without one more visit to the pits? When you're this close to a minute to go, that's the last thing you want to have happen. And meanwhile, whilst that is on the mind of Nathan Foster, on the mind of many driver in the gold class is how this is going to, indeed many spectators of the gold class, is how this battle for the gold win is going to play out. And Pratt in particular down in P9, P3 in the gold class will be keeping his eyes on this for the simple reason how this plays out could have a knock-on effect in the championship right when we come to the end, come the end of round number 12. And you can see here Hill's still closed, but just not able to find the move at this time. He's there 90% of the way, but he needs that final 10%, and I think that final 10% will come on the final lap. Speaking of final lap, well, here's your race leader of Austin William Campbell, and he's about to take us on to the final lap. With just under 20 seconds left on the clock, he'll go on to lap number 20, and as he makes way up the hill, Daniel Thomas only 1.2 seconds behind as they head up towards turn number 1. So Anthony 9 tenths behind him. The top three are definitely going to finish well within arm's reach of one another, but can Austin William Campbell hold on for one more lap? I think he's got enough space to do so, but Thomas is the fastest man on circuit right now, being matched by Austin William Campbell to a major extent, but Thomas just has a slight edge. Meanwhile, in this battle for the gold win at P7 overall, Hill still there right behind Tillen, and as we ride on board here with Hill making his way into turn number 1, coming to the end of the rise to the summit, and now down they go once again towards turn number 2. Hill this time getting a better run out of 1. It gets him in 3 tenths going through 2, but as he makes his way in towards turn 3, 4 and 5, this is where he's got to nail this on and just not let the car creep away from him. As you can see, the look at Tilling literally sliding into the corners. That's where the window just has not got the tyre life anymore. Tilling goes a little bit deep here, and this is what Hill needs. He needs to be this close come the end of this sequence at turn number 11, and if he can stay here coming out to 9, through 10 they go. This is going to be the best possible opportunity he could ask for as they come down towards 11. Now Hill doesn't want to go for it here for the simple reason then he's got to fend it off into turn number 12, but he goes deep here. You know why? Because he wants to launch out of the corner, gets a nice exit here, and now he's well within attacking range here. 3 attempts they get up to speed, and that gap's only going to come closer and closer and closer as they make the way all the way down towards turn number 12. But the question is, has Hill got enough here? Will Tilling go all in on the brakes when he covers off the middle of the road? As meanwhile Hill makes his way to the outside here. Tilling holds him off there as they make the way under braking into turn number 12, and as they come through the corner here, has Tilling gone a bit too deep? No, he's kept it just within arm's reach of the corner as they make the way up into 13, and as they come through the right hander here, coming all the way through 13, then 14. We do have to briefly cut away from them because making his way to the final corner, it has been a faultless race from start to finish. He hasn't put a foot wrong, and Austin William Campbell takes the win here in Texas, your winner overall. And in the Platinum class ahead of Daniel Thomas in a charging P2, Cy Anthony P3 completing the overall on the Platinum podium. It will be Damien Lobbett who will then come on through to complete what is his run to P4, and then just behind him will be Stephen Masters come the finish, P5, the silver winner there in an absolutely deserved drive. And it'll be Nathan Foster P6, just not quite able to hold on to Damien Lobbett. Meanwhile, Martin Tilling will finish P7 for UKSimRacing Pink, just ahead of Alex Hill by 6.5 tenths come the finish line. It will then be Joshua Pratt who completes what is there, the gold podium, ahead of James Acklam, who comes on home in the end, recovering to P10 from the back of the field after a mistake early on. And then it is Sam Sherwood who will make his way on around here to complete his race in P11, P4 in the gold class for Sherwood, ahead of Colin Patterson, who then comes on through what is turn number 20 to complete his race, second place in the silver class, and a brilliant drive for Patterson. Whitefoot there, third place on the podium of the silver class, as we do run out of VHS tape, as I like to say, with the replay file stopping there, but we can bring you the rest of the results very shortly. But Mark Johnson in, I think, covered on home to take what was the bronze win. But without further ado, let's take you through those race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries. Well, the results are in, and they are as follows. In round number 8 of the GT3 League Season 8, as brought to you by UKSimRacing on iRacing. And we can see here, overall, firstly, Austin William Campbell taking that win by 1.2 seconds over Daniel Thomas. Daniel Thomas having a lot of pace at his fingertips, but Austin William Campbell, in the end, having a response. And to give you an idea of that response that Austin William Campbell had tucked in, on that final lap, Daniel Thomas a 2:03.79, Austin William Campbell a 2:03.78. So Austin William Campbell there, definitely matching the measure of Thomas. Great to see the two of them, though, shredding those laps and putting them together, and we'll have to wait to see how it plays out in the remainder of the season, whether the rivalry will intensify. Cy Anthony P3, they're just not quite able to hold off Daniel Thomas. The move was made in the pit lane in the end. Damien Lobbett P4, Stephen Masters P5 then, absolutely pitch-perfect driver, the silver winner. Nathan Foster P6, Martin Tilling holding off Alex Hill for P7 in the end to take the gold win. Joshua Pratt P9, James Acklam P10, and then Sam Sherwood in P11 there to start off the best of the rest. A special mention, of course, to our bronze winner P16 there in the overall standings of Mark Johnson, keeping his head cool and driving to the win in class. But speaking of classes, let's come on to our individual class results. And we start off here with Austin William Campbell securing the platinum win. As you can see, Daniel Thomas behind, as we mentioned earlier, and Cy Anthony completing that platinum podium. Damien Lobbett P4 in the end. I think feeling as though today he did not quite have the pace to be able to change the top three, albeit he did enough to hold off Nathan Foster all the way to the end. Nathan Foster P5 running out of fuel towards the end and had to back it off to fuel safe, but made it across the line. And confirming now, I believe Nathan Foster is CP85 in the Twitch chat. Good evening to you, Nathan. That's saying had 0.1 of a litre across the line, indeed leaving it to the very last drop, no doubt. And James Acklam there, despite a difficult qualifying session, P6 was all he could achieve in class today, but still getting his head down and trying to chase down his peers, and in the end bring that gap down to what was 21 seconds at the finish line. Then coming on to the gold class, and we can see here in the gold class, Martin Tilling taking the win in the end by 6.5 tenths ahead of Alex Hill and Joshua Pratt. They're just not quite able to match the pace of his two championship rivals, and indeed in the fight for the win, instead of having to settle for third in class. Sam Sherwood, P4, they're the last of the gold drivers to finish effectively on what was the lead lap, although I do believe that's a bit of a misnomer there. I think everyone did actually finish on the lead lap, so that's not quite correct saying they're a lap down. But Billy Mann there finishing P5 ahead of John Eddowes P6, Ollie Pimley P7, not to be his day today, and Stuart Brown, after an absolutely dogged defence in the first half of his race on his first stint, P8 was all he could achieve today for Symphony Esports Gold, but I think he will have enjoyed battling as hard as he did for lap after lap, and we love to see it. And Ryan Moles in the end finishing in P9. There were two extra visits to the pits, one for a drive-through. We're not sure what the other was about, but Moles in the end, whilst he was charging fast, it just did not work out for the BWT Motorsport driver here today. And then coming on to the silver class, we can see here your silver winner, Stephen Masters, as mentioned previously, taking an emphatic win ahead of Colin Patterson with perhaps a rather quiet drive, but Colin Patterson bringing home that P2 in class ahead of Matthew Whitefoot, who'll be happy with the P3 after all the battling between himself and Daniel Pays in the bronze class. Tyson Verlander P4, Casper Brotner P5, and then Jeremy Graham P6. And as we come on to our final class, at the bronze class, last but by no means least, we can see here that Mark Johnson taking that win by 8.2 seconds over Darren Sharples, with James Connolly P3, Sean Clark P4 ahead of Daniel Pays with that retirement early on in the race, coming home in P5 classified. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for us to take a brief breather. We'll be back in approximately 3 to 4 minutes for our post-round interviews for our selected volunteer drivers. We'll be back shortly. Don't go anywhere. You won't want to miss them. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's kick off our post-round interviews. And we've only got 2 drivers for today, rather than our maximum allotment of 4. And that is the gold pair who we saw battle all the way from start to finish for the gold win of the number 91 driver of Martin Tillin from UKSimRacing Pink, our eventual winner in the gold class, and his rival of Alex Hill in the 276 Tiki SimSport Porsche. But what we're going to do as a first for our broadcast, we are going to be interviewing both drivers together because, well, it'll be interesting to hear their joint perspectives. And as we do join them in the interview room, we're joined now by Martin Tillin and Alex Hill. Gents, it was an absolute thriller all the way down to the finish line between yourselves. But started off with yourself, Martin, I have to ask, how did it feel to hold off the pressure from Martin all the way to the end? Sorry,
Yeah,
from Alex all the way to the end, I should say.
It was a tough race. I think I had a bit of advantage on the start because I had the outside line, managed to get him on the start. But the pressure was there. He was within a second the whole lap, and he did such a great job behind. It was pressure from start to finish. It was a great little battle. Really enjoyed it.
Oh, indeed. It was fantastic all the way through. But Alex, from your perspective, being the pursuer all the way through the race, it must have been tough on yourself to stay that close to Martin throughout pretty much at least 30 of the 40 minutes of racing.
Well, at the start, we had Josh and Ryan fairly close behind. So I was like, well, I'm just going to tuck in, see if we can save a little bit of fuel and see what happens a bit further on. Ended up being Josh and Ryan ended up fighting quite a lot. So Martin and I sort of began to pull away. It was I was more or less thinking I need to look for opportunities closer to the end. But the off tracks were beginning to mount up. So I was a bit worried about incident points at the end as well. So we needed to make sure to keep it clean on there and not have any unnecessary collisions.
Oh, most definitely. And unpacking it from the start, of course, we saw in qualifying just how easy it is to pick up off tracks here at the Circuit of the Americas. I have to ask you both in turn, starting with yourself, Alex, with the pole lap in the gold class. Was qualifying everything you wanted it to be in terms of the lap you set, or was there a bit more out there, despite the fact you did take gold pole?
It's not the fastest lap I'd done all week, but it wasn't a bad lap either. My last lap was the fastest lap. I was actually behind both Josh and Martin until the very last lap of qualifying, so I was happy to get it in there in the end. It would have been nicer to get a bit higher up and had like a car between myself and Martin maybe, but you know, it was pole for gold, so I did enough what I needed to do at the start, and then Martin had an excellent start and managed to get me at the beginning, but it was a close race throughout, so I don't think it made a huge difference on there.
Well, indeed. And Martin, from your perspective, missing out on Pippin Alex to pole in the gold class by only 500, if that. Were you a bit gutted about that? Or were you thinking, okay, I'll just get him in the race?
It was a tough one. It was close throughout the pack. It was very, very close for everyone, even from pole down to P5. The times were a little slower than I expected compared to officials that week. But yeah, it was tight. I probably could have had a little bit more in me, but I just didn't have it in me after the first lap. I was the complete opposite. First lap was fastest, the other two were not. So it was pick of the bunch, really.
Indeed, and as we were hearing there briefly from yourself, Alex, about that start and being being pipped up the hill, and then the racing got underway. Did it catch you out the fact that the race really started for yourselves on the apex of turn 20, or were you ready for that? Because we did see Austin William Campbell go very quickly.
I was kind of hoping he'd go a little bit further up the straight before he went. I was half expecting it, but I was, part way into the turn. There's nothing I can do about that. That was just when the leader's chosen to go. And I was hung out to dry a little bit, so thank you for that, Austin. But that's the way it is sometimes. You win some, you lose some. And, if he's on pole next race, we know that potentially he is going to go early and we can adjust as needed. So it's wasn't the end of the world. It certainly could have gone any way, and we don't know how the race would have played out had I held onto it at the start. There's simply no way of knowing that. So it was a good enough start to get needed to do what I needed to do. So it was all right.
Oh, indeed. And Martin, from your perspective, of course, getting the jump on your rival in the run to turn number one, but then leading the pair of yourselves for a long time in that first stint. What was going through your mind throughout the orbit? Because we know the Circuit of the Americas, a very tricky circuit to get right lap after lap, and in no less in the BMW, which seemed the deeper we got into the race, the more it wanted to slide about.
Yeah, so I had back in my head, there's always a tire situation going through my head, knowing that the tires aren't brilliant around on the BMW this season. So it's always in your head, try not to destroy your tires in the first 5 laps. So my overall game was just to try and stick with the Porsches of Steven, because he was rapid throughout the whole race. He was so fast. And as I started dropping my tires, my lose position to him and actually lost the toe. It was just keep my times going, keep in my bracket, I need to stay within and just keep hitting those steps.
Well, indeed, and it looked as though all the way through that first stint, keeping your cool and maintaining the car and the tyres as best as you could. But then we came up to the pit stop, and both of you coming into the pits at the same time. And well, I have to ask Martin, was that something you expected was going to happen, or were you thinking to yourself, okay, I'll go first and he can go the lap after?
I thought he was fuel saving. Right? From the moment he tucked in from lap one, he was on my mind is like, damn, he's going to get me on strategy here. He's going to fuel save, and get me in a pit. And he said it himself. If he had to put 1 litre less in, which he probably could have done, he may have come out ahead of me. But we'll never know because he didn't put 1 litre less in, and I come out ahead of him. So it was down to the pits, really. I mean, it was still close on the exit. It was really tight, but I managed to get it done.
Indeed. And Alex, from your perspective, of course, we saw you both parked in the pit, and literally as soon as Martin released the brake and when we saw you also come away and go, but just not quite there in the end.
Oh yeah, well I was looking at my fuel and I was like 17 liters or 18 liters. And 18 liters would definitely get me there, and 17 liters I'll possibly come out ahead, but I will need to sort of fuel save a tiny amount. And it would I have been able to make it to the end? Probably, but it would have been close. So I went with what was safer. And then, as you saw near the end, I was beginning to get more opportunities. I think, given another couple of laps, Martin's tires would have driven off a cliff, and I would have been able to get past. But it's not one of the endurance rounds, so I didn't have that opportunity. But at the next endurance round, I might have that chance. So we just have to sort of bear that in mind. But yeah, I mean, I'd rather get that second and not have to save a huge amount of fuel, or give that Josh that opportunity to have caught back up, than go for that win. Better to play it safe in this case, I think.
Oh, most definitely. But I do have to ask, Alex, when running through the S's in particular, also that arena section right towards the end, we saw lap after lap, you're creeping closer and closer. But it was almost as if the dirty air was creating this wall that you had to tear down in bringing that gap down to 4 tenths come the run down the back straight. What were you having to do to mitigate that? Because we saw so many times where the car just didn't seem to want to turn into the corners like you wanted it to.
Well, the S's were not very fun in the Porsche in the dirty air. It was quite quite difficult to sort of control. But on that sort of last lap, I think Martin made a mistake through the S's, which gave me that sort of opportunity. And he defended the inside fairly early, so I had to go on the outside there. But it was quite a bit of dirty air, and I think I probably need to sort of run a bit more practice with that in order to try stay a bit closer. But it's not somewhere you can immediately pass going down into that hairpin unless you're really close. So you're better off trying to get it at the end of the straight. So I was hoping for that opportunity, and Martin did well to defend in a couple of occasions when I did get very close. So it's I can't fault him at all there. He did exactly what he needed to do to keep the car ahead. I did say to Martin, I felt I had the pace. If I had got past, I would have been able to pull away. But I first it's one thing being able to catch somebody; it's another being able to pass them. So yeah, if you need to make that opportunity happen, and in this case, Martin did enough to defend.
Oh, indeed. And you're very right there. Very, very wise words, as said once by Murray Walker himself. But Martin, coming to you, crossing that finish line at the end by an advantage of only 6.5 tenths, but it was so close all the way through. Must have been a big sigh of relief when you crossed the finish line.
Yeah, it was tough. Big sigh of relief. But I could breathe out. And I was holding my breath for the whole 40 minutes. Not literally, but you know what I mean. It was an incredible race, and it was tight throughout.
Oh, indeed. And speaking of things being tight, as we now move into what is really the final third of the championship, drop scores are starting to be applied. And, well, you guys may already be aware of this, but if not, and for our viewers at home, it is only a 5-point gap between yourself, Alex, leading the championship, Pratt in P2, and then yourself, Martin, in P3. I have to ask, coming to yourself first, Martin, did you expect it to be this close at the gold class at this point in the season?
No, it was completely unexpected. Obviously, I couldn't attend every single weekend. Most drivers will obviously take several drops through the season. So my poor race at Barcelona was not expected, and Oschersleben, my mistake cost me. So there's 2 potential drop weeks there, which I didn't expect. That I could have got decent points out, including from the win at well, what would may or even could have been a win at Oschersleben. The mistake cost me dearly there. So it's all a play for at the end, and I've got to keep pushing hard and beat these guys. It's going to be a huge challenge.
Oh, indeed. And coming to yourself, Alex, now championship leader going into the final 4 rounds. Is the pressure on, or is it just turn up to the next round and get the job done?
Well, all three, me, Josh, and Martin, all three of us could win this at the moment. I need to first of all, we need to turn up, get the job done. I think all of us need a minimum of 2 wins at this point. It is that tight, even with 4 rounds to go. So it's going to be very tight going to the end. I had a very bad round at Road Atlanta, and I was unable to attend Laguna Seca. So I've got a couple of weeks where I can pick up quite large amounts of points. So I've got that sort of advantage from that point in a similar way to Martin has. Whereas Josh actually has been very consistent all season, has got the most points if you were to add all of them up at the moment. So it is a case of what we can all gain out of these last few rounds, and we need to, all of us need to be on our best games, I think. So it's going to be very interesting, I think, for gold for the last few rounds.
Oh, indeed. Speaking of keeping things interesting, next time out we head to the Suzuka circuit, a very challenging circuit for a sprint race. 40 minutes at Suzuka. Starting with yourself, Martin. Your thoughts on the Suzuka circuit?
It actually bodes very much similarities to Circuit of the Americas, just about the hill sections. There's a lot of S's, a lot of directional changes, some fast straights, some flat out sections, really slow, tight chicanes, plenty of overtaking opportunities, and plenty of space for mistakes. So, be a tough circuit to race round, and hopefully some real big entertainment.
Oh, indeed. And what about yourself, Alex, when you think of the Japanese circuit?
Well, it is the case that I beat Martin there last season. So we'll see what he tries to do this time. And we'll go from there. So I'm looking forward to Suzuka. I'll be practicing quite a bit because I'll be doing the 10-hour race. So I am looking forward to it.
Well, that is brilliant to hear. Both of you excited for the race ahead. Well, just before I do let you both go, starting with yourself, Martin, is there anybody you would like to say thank you to on the broadcast this evening?
Just UKSimRacing in general again. They're producing a great season once again. Done a great job yourself, Paul, with the broadcast, entertaining as always. And the race has been very competitive and clean this season. It's been really, really good.
And coming to yourself, Alex.
Yeah, thank you very much for the broadcast. It's been an excellent race commentary today and throughout the season, for that matter. Again, thank you to UKSimRacing and my team at Tiki Sim Sport for the support and what's going on there, and to all the other drivers in the league who are providing some excellent racing. It's been great fun so far, and hopefully will be continue to be great fun in the future.
Well, gentlemen, really appreciate the words. I'm sure the guys at the organising team at UKSimRacing will appreciate the kind words and feedback as well. But again, thank you to you both for joining us in the interview room. And at the same time, congratulations on your results. A brilliant battle all the way to the checkered flag. And we look forward to seeing how you both get on at Suzuka in a week's time.
Thanks, Paul. Have a good week, buddy.
You too. All the best. So hearing there from our two interviewees of what were Martin Tilling from UKSimRacing Pink and Alex Hill from Sim Sport, battling all the way from start to finish for the win in the gold class. And it was Martin Tilling who came off on top in the end by only 6 attempts, if that, come at the checkered flag. And it was all down to Tilling being able to hold on and withstand the pressure of Hill after getting the jump on the very starting opening straight in the run-up towards turn number 1. But indeed, with these two combined with Joshua Pratt in the battle, in a three-way battle for the championship win in the gold class, which really is going to go down to the wire at this point in time, anything can happen. And we'll have to wait and see whether Hill can get the upper hand on Tilling once again when they go to Suzuka in a week's time, or whether Pratt can find a way to get into the mix and make it a win of his own. Well, all that and more in due course. But now it's time for us to go from our post-round interviews to an update on the championship standings come the end of round number 8, starting with the top 20. So looking at the overall top 20 standings then, keeping in mind all these results are provisional while stewarding decisions are still in play, we can see that Jonathan Hitchen, whilst not in attendance today, is continuing to lead. Now you may be looking at these and you'll see in all of our standings, the numbers are a combination of white and red. Just to explain, the white scores are the scores that count towards a driver's total points, meanwhile the red scores are the potential drop rounds at this point in time. And just to reiterate, with regards to the ruling of the drop scores, there are 2 sprint round drop scores and there are 2 feature race round drop scores. So it is the best, effectively 6 sprints and the best 2 features, which will count to a driver's final tally out of what is the total of 12 races. If my mathematics is correct and the remembrance of the rules, if I've got it wrong, feel free to correct me in the Twitch chat. But we can see there Jonathan Hitchen leading at the moment in the overall championship standings on 85 points to Joe Zarkos' 72 points. But the differential here being that whilst Hitchen is being reeled back in based on drop scores, he has an absolute plethora of big scores, which he can't necessarily improve on as such, but as we go more towards that round 12, we will see that advantage reopen to an extent, and really the emphasis now is on Joe Zarkos to be able to get those big points in the bag to cement that P2 and then mount that last minute championship campaign for the win off of Hitchen. Can he do it? Well, he's shown the pace he can do it, but we'll have to see if that works out in reality as time wears on in the championship. Daniel Thomas there with that great result today, moving up to P3 for BWT Motorsport, ahead of Austin William Campbell, who whilst not in attendance for the majority of the races so far, you can see only 3-point scores to his name, up there in P4 on 61 points and really picking the big scores and making them count. Joshua Pratt there, P5, the privateer, the gold driver there, doing very well to still be in the top 5 overall and carrying on that championship momentum, with Cy Anthony P6 just behind by 3 points, and then we have the combination of Nathan Foster and Damien Lovett both on 44 points. Foster ahead of Lovett based on result count back, and they have Stephen Masters, the silver driver, inside the top 10 there in P9 ahead of Callum Regarton, who we've not seen their attendance for the last few rounds, but we do hope he's able to make a return appearance towards the end. We'll be interested to see how he fits into the mix inside that top 10 at the bottom of the top 10 currently. Alex Hill in P11 there, the best of the rest, starting off the run outside the top 20 ahead of James Acklam, Martin Tilling, Austin Gretorix, Christian Saruta, Carl McGurk, Ryan Moles, Richard Yep, Dominic Roberts and Jacko Taylor. But as we now come on to the Platinum class standings for our Drivers' Championship, we can see here the top portion of the complexion is near identical, if not identical, with Hitchen ahead of Zarkos by the same points advantage, and Daniel Thomas there 5 points behind. Austin William Campbell again moved up to P4 based on drop scores, with Nathan Foster in pursuit there in P5, and then we do have James Acklam in P6 ahead of Cy Anthony by a single point and behind Nathan Foster just based on result count back. That's how close it is in the battle to be in the bottom end of the top 5 and get your name into that top 5 group, with Damien Lovett P8 there, not too far behind, only by 6 points, and then with that 7 points there, and then we do have Carl McGurk and Callum Regarton completing the Platinum top 10, with Austin Gretorix P11 starting off the best of the rest, ahead of Richard Yep, Christian Zaruta, Dominic Roberts, Darren Orkett, Jacko Taylor, Sam Congreve, Paul Busby, Gareth Higgins, Oliver Fennell and Max Vertlenger in P21. But then we come on to the gold class. And we can see here that after today's result, after the second place and drop scores being applied, Alex Hill now leading by 3 points for Tiki Simsport over the privateer of Joshua Pratt, with Martin Tilling a further 2 points behind. But as it was pointed out in the interview of both Alex Hill and also Martin Tilling, it's an interesting contrast between the trio, where both Hill and Tilling have scores which have significantly been dropped, where they've been looking for great results and hasn't quite worked out. The contrast is that Joshua Pratt has a much more consistent run of scores scores across the board. And right now, that's not being felt, but it will be felt when we get to rounds 10 and 11, where we should see Pratt's score really start to jump up in terms of the total potentially. And that means the pressure is on the hill and Tilling right now to continue to knock in those big scores, because they do not, then Pratt's advantage will become more clear when we get towards the last couple of rounds. But we'll have to wait and see how it plays out in practice. Indeed, between the three of them, there's nothing between them at this point in time. And then Sam Sherwood there on 56 points in P4, really trying to hold on to that position outside the top three, ahead of John Eddowes, who is closing gradually, 8 points off in P5 for Tiki Simsport Tyre. Then we've got Ryan Moles, who didn't have his day in the sun today, unfortunately not working out for him, and a major loss of key points, but still at the same time continuing to make the Audi R8 LMS shine. And we look forward to seeing how he can potentially move into the top 5 and take the fight to Eddowes, with Patrick Falconer in P7 there for DCW Racing, and then Stuart Brown, Shane Abbott and Peter Cox completing at the top 10. Ollie Pimley, best of the rest, outside the top 10 in P11 on 34 points, based on result count back only versus Peter Cox. And then we have Brandon Hay a further 2 points behind the privateer, ahead of Chris Hitchen, Daniel Dan Weaver in P14, Joe Amos P15, Billy Mann P16, Joe Newman P17, and John Watt completing the gold standings. Then we come on to the silver class, and we can see here that Stephen Masters now starting to build a wave of championship momentum on 87 points, 13 points clear of Matthew Whitefoot, and Masters right now put in a set of perfect scores. You can see there 3 22s against his name and the 4 scores that count at this point, and that means that Masters right now really building that momentum and a big set of scores that could take him to the championship crown. And then we do see Matthew Whitefoot in P2 ahead of David Larson, a further 3 points behind that. And Larson versus Whitefoot is the big rivalry, which we'll have to see whether that gets more intense over the course of the next couple rounds. Given Larson was not in attendance today, Whitefoot was, and we hope to see both of them out on the circuit. Whitefoot being Mr. Consistent perhaps, but at the same time Larson very fast, and when he nails it right, he's practically unstoppable. Colin Patterson in P4 then moving up to P4 and 64 points after a great result today. Second place of course at COTA, ahead of which Jeff Griffiths there, P5, and then Chris Edison, P6. Griffiths and Edison not in attendance today. Tyson Melinda there in P7, making the car switch to the Lamborghini from the BMW, and that will be corrected on the standings in the near future. Ahead of Casper Bruckner in P8. Then we do have Mark Collicott P9 and Jeremy Grant at P10 there, completing the top 10 on 45 points. A good 11 points clear of Rob Armstrong, who's best the rest outside the top 10 in P11. And then we have Murray Luca, Sean Cranley Swash, Ryan Williams, Paul Davey, Matthew Morris, Carlin Owens and Aaron James completing the silver standings. But then coming on to the bronze class, we can see here Mark Johnson leading by 4 points ahead of Darren Sharples. And whilst it seems very close at the moment, we do have to keep in mind that Mark Johnson does have some big scores still to come into effect, and also some 0 scores in there, which you would imagine will be updated to quite strong scores if the results play out the way he would imagine they're going to do so. Indeed, we predict they would do so, given the pace he's shown. But Mark Johnson at the moment with a slender lead that may increase in the near future. But Darren Sharples and Daniel Pays, they're not too far behind. It's only 8 points from P1 to P3, and Sharples and Pays are definitely in the hunt of the championship crown. It's not all the Mark Johnson story at the moment, and only time will tell if it stays that way. Pays, of course, missing out today with that unfortunate incident early on, and also having to come into the pit and to retire the car. But right now the privateer here will be thinking about coming back strong, and next time out with James Connolly in P4, Sean Clark P5. There were great results today that's moved him into P5. Reggie Greenfield P6 ahead of Ryan Gonzalez P7, Richard Baxter in P8 there on 32 points, 22 clear and Matty Wild. And then we do have Matt Edmondson there completing the top 10, with Thomas Barjak, Stephen Cox, James Chapman, Ashley Coverdale and Andrew Murray completing the bronze standings. But coming on to the last but not least set of standings, which is the team's championship standings, we can see here with drop scores in effect, Symphony Esports White are leading the way by a margin of what is 16 points over BWT Motorsport. And BWT Motorsport and Tiki Simsport Tower there in a very close battle for P2, but also trying to creep closer to the championship leaders, with Tiki Simsport in P4 only at 7 points off there and looking to take on their sister outfit. And UKSimRacing Pink, well, I think there might be a bit of an error with that 122 point score there, but currently listed in P5. And indeed, the battle for P2 really starting to build up to a crescendo now, and if anybody can clear that battle for P2, they may just be able to take a torch to Symphony Esports White and upset their momentum. BRM Racing, not too far off the top 5 now, 96 points in P6. But again, I think some of these scores are not quite correct in the fact that we can see the numbers jumping around. But we'll go by the names in the order. But BRM Racing in P6, UKSimRacing in P7, then Symphony Esports Black P8, ahead of DCW Racing at Symphony Esports Gold P10. And then we have SimAm Racing, Effect Esports completing the standings outside the top 10, with SimAm Racing ahead of Effect Esports. But those are the team standings. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed the show today and want to know more about the UK sim racing community in terms of the series we put on and everything else in between in terms of who we are and what we stand for within the sim racing and real world of motorsport, then why not go to our official website, that is UKSimRacing.co.uk. Alternatively, if you're more inclined to go to a Twitter page, why not go to our official Twitter at twitter.com/UKSimRacing_ to get all the latest news and updates with regards to upcoming series and broadcasts. But also a big thank you to our affiliates, without whom of course we'd not be able to continue to expand as we do at UK Sim Racing, and they include Swello Meta Sim Racing Coaching, their YouTube link available on screen. And why should you listen to Swello Meta? In the world of sim racing coaching, was a multi-series winner in the official iRacing series, a multi-time winner. Swello Meta right up there at the best of the best in terms of sim racing coaches, and whether you're looking to gain a small amount of lap time or indeed learn how to be a bit more consistent behind the wheel in a given class of machinery, Swello Meta's got a sim racing course exactly for you in the coaching world, which will fit your requirements, so definitely check them out. Also, to Race Anywhere, their web address, www.raceanywhere.co.uk, and Race Anywhere is the provider of curated sim racing equipment, aiming to stock only products that represent excellent value for the sim racing community. Also to Demon Tweaks, their web address, demon-tweaks.com, where they are the provider of the most complete and innovative motorsport product range available worldwide, particularly in the world of real-world motorsport, but also some sim racing products in there. So no matter what your level or discipline, Demon Tweaks could help drive you to realise your motorsport ambitions. And last but not least, Amazon, their web address, amazon.co.uk. And Amazon is the company striving to be the Earth's most customer-centric company, the Earth's best employer, and Earth's safest place to work through the precision of concepts pioneered by Amazon, including, but not limited to, one-click shopping, Amazon Prime, and also Amazon Web Services. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, as we heard earlier in our interviews, it's now time for our drivers to pack up their bags and their teams to pack up the cars and make the way across to Japan. Across to the Pacific region they go, and indeed, in a week's time, on Sunday the 13th of November, we'll be going racing in one of our very last sprint races. Not too many more left of them on the calendar, and at the Suzuka circuit, what a circuit that's no stranger to drama in a championship campaign, where it's the years of Senna versus Prost, or the more modern times. You can imagine it's going to go down to the wire, and this could be a critical round for many a driver. How will it all unfold in Japan in a week's time? Only time will tell. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, we have been UK Sim Racing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain a Spit. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.